the silent erosion of Rome by its own money. When people talk about the fall of Rome, they usually think of barbarians at the gates, legions trapped, or intrigues in palaces. But great structures do not collapse solely because of outside threats. Money is often the most corrosive force, and the decay starts from within. Rome's decline cannot be explained only by external pressures. Its weakness was not just the result of outside threats. The real problem began when the value of its national currency started to fall. This story still holds true for every modern economy that believes small interventions in money are harmless. Welcome to History of Economy. We'll explore the deep connections between money, power, and history. And remember, nothing is as simple as it seems. Let's start from the beginning. For centuries, the foundation of the Roman economy was a silver coin called the denarius. When it was first minted around 211 BC, it was almost pure silver. Soldiers' pay, merchant transactions, and people's savings all depended on it. The denarius was not just a coin, it was a form of tangible trust. Faith in Rome was connected to trust in its money. Maintaining an empire is extremely expensive. The pay of soldiers, the construction of massive roads and aqueducts, and endless military campaigns all depended on the denarius. In the 2nd century AD, Rome found itself facing Germanic tribes, the Parthians in the east, and internal unrest all at once. When taxes couldn't cover the costs, emperors resorted to an old but inevitable solution: reducing the metal content of the coin. Fearing uprisings from higher taxes, they quietly lowered the silver content of the denarius. The numbers speak for themselves. Under Augustus, the denarius was 95% pure silver. Under Caracalla, it had dropped to about 50%. By the mid-3rd century under Gallienus, it fell below 5%. The coin's outside was silver-plated, but its core was bronze, and people knew it. The result? As the currency lost real backing, prices began to soar. A measure of wheat that once cost 1 denarius now cost many times more, disrupting daily life for ordinary people. As costs rose, soldiers demanded higher pay, and merchants preferred barter or gold instead of the devalued coin. As trust in money faded, local economies shifted back to barter. As confidence dissolved, emperors minted even more worthless coins, pouring fuel on the fire. This is a cycle repeated many times throughout history. The crisis peaked during the 3rd century crisis from 235 to 284 AD. Rapidly changing emperors, some reigning only months, ruled over a collapsed monetary system. Taxes were collected in worthless coin, farmers abandoned their fields, and trade routes fell apart. Authorities tried price controls and forced labor, but nothing worked. In this chaos, Emperor Diocletian attempted reform and issued the Edict on Maximum Prices in 301 AD. Over 1,000 goods and services were given fixed prices, with harsh penalties for violations. But as money collapsed, price controls could not work. Official trade stopped and black markets flourished. People learned quickly that an imperial decree cannot give value to worthless money. Rome eventually abandoned the denarius entirely. Around 312 AD, Constantine introduced the gold-based solidus, a highly trusted currency. The solidus maintained stability for centuries, especially in the Eastern Roman Empire Byzantium. But by the time the Western Empire could have fully adopted it, it was already fatally weakened. The denarius's collapse had eroded the foundations of the Roman economy from within. Armies could no longer be funded, trade routes disintegrated, and public trust was shattered. Rome did not fall in a single disaster. It was a long, painful unraveling, and the devaluation of its money was the central cause. This shows us that when money loses value, societies lose their strength as well. Rome thought it could fool the public by minting coins that looked the same outside, but were worthless inside. Today, many governments try the same thing by printing more money, manipulating interest rates, or inflating away their debts. But the result never changes. People's purchasing power falls, savings erode, and social trust weakens. Rome learned this lesson the hard way, and if we are not careful, we may repeat the same mistakes. History did not stop there. From that day onward, major monetary crises have repeated the same pattern. States devalue money to cover their expenses. the rich protect themselves, and the cost is passed on to ordinary people. Rome's currency crisis was only the first large-scale example of this. In the 20th century, the same story almost repeated itself exactly. After World War I, Germany tried to pay its heavy war reparations by printing money. At first, this seemed like a solution, but by 1923, prices had reached absurd levels. A loaf of bread cost billions of marks, and people struggled even to carry their money home. Savings vanished while owners of real assets survived. The meaningless money deepened social unrest. Zimbabwe suffered the same fate in the 2000s. Production collapsed, debt ballooned, and the government printed money to fill its budget holes. By 2008, prices were rising at unbelievable rates, and stores couldn't update their price tags fast enough. The country eventually abandoned its own currency, and people turned to foreign money. The truth is clear. Currency devaluation always burdens society, and you don't need extreme examples to see it. Even modern developed economies still follow Rome's model. For example, in the United States in 1971, President Nixon completely cut the dollar's tie to the gold standard. From that day on, the dollar became a pure fiat currency based only on trust. In the years that followed, public debt grew rapidly, money supply expanded, and prices rose accordingly. Today, items that cost $1 in 1971 now cost over $6. The value looks the same on the surface, but erosion has occurred. Governments present this as growth and higher wages as good news, but living costs rise much faster. They use words like investment, growth, or stimulus to cover up debt expansion. They present rising stock markets as if everyone were getting rich, but most people can't even invest in them. Just like Roman officials, they pretend everything is normal while reality changes. What makes today different is that this system now operates globally. Rome was regional, Weimar was national, Zimbabwe was local. But today all major economies use fiat money, high debt, and rapid money printing. This means a future crisis could hit the entire world at once. History shows that in such collapses, the hardest hit are salaried workers with limited savings. The first lesson individuals should take from Rome is this: inflation is often not an accident, but a policy. It is an invisible tax. Second, real value lies not in paper but in land, skill, production, or physical assets. Third, never assume any system will remain stable forever. Romans of the first century never imagined their denarius would one day become worthless. Germans in 1913 never imagined their mark would turn into a worthless sheet of paper. Zimbabweans in the 1980s never imagined their economy would collapse so extremely. Yet in all three cases, the story developed the same way. Rome's fall shows that monetary systems first decay slowly, then very suddenly. When money loses trust, daily life breaks down. Trade stops, institutions shake, and governments lose legitimacy. External pressures only deliver the final blow to a system that is already rotted inside. The core truth is this: history may not repeat exactly, but it always tests those who fail to learn from it. Rome's currency crisis was not just about bad leaders. It was about how fragile a system becomes when money is misused. And this fragility still exists today. If this lit a light in your mind, subscribe. History holds the answers that make things easier. I'll show you.